All right, we're back. While we were away, I take some time. I pre-cut some foam for up in here. Kind of pre-cut a piece to go up here. Pre-cut them because I didn't want to get blue foam all over the place. And I cut a piece for here. We'll kind of figure it out. But I did bring over one of my favorite tools, is this hot knife. I can do some fine cuts with this. I need that angle. We'll take the Woodland Scenics cutter and work our way down. And this is nice because it gives it a really nice cut. Nice and clean. It doesn't leave the blue foam pebbles all over the place. It's good till it dies. I overheated it. Alright, we're back to where we were at. Got a lot of this cut out. And got a couple pieces sitting in. Got to hot glue a lot of them in place. I got that hot glued. Now I got them semi-formed to what I want. Get these things kind of glued in place. And I can go along and get sculpt mold up in here. And start forming some of this stuff up. I wanted a hot glue cutter. I kind of had to fix and repair. It kind of died on me. And, I got it working and enough to cut out what I needed. Got a little bit here. I'll do some sculpting and forming a little. But figured follow you guys, let you guys follow along in this adventure. We got the tunnel portals up like we needed. And yeah, a little work here, a little work there. I guess I should have glued that in place. Put some glue back there. Most of this will get covered up with sculpt mold and some hydrocal rocks and stuff like that. It's all kind of locked down. Sculpt the mold and hydrocal, and that will lock it down in place. I got a lot of hydrocal castings that I did out of our castings. Get this all locked in place. It doesn't have to be super sturdy. Just needs to be enough to hold it. Once we fill all this in with, fill it all in with sculpt the mold and hydrocal, we're going to really lock it down like a Fort Knox. Let's see, I don't know if you can see in that side where I'm at. Take a look here. Okay. I'm going to build this up with a little shelf here. Trying to watch myself on the layout that I don't break anything. Alright. this locked in up here. Another glue stick. Like I say, none of this has to be sitting in an absolute perfect place. Once you get kind of filled in, sculpt the mold up in a lot of this, it's going to lock down pretty tight. Get this foam holding in. Put a couple strips down here. I'm going to make a cliff wall here. So maybe something like this. Building on top of the old mountain. A little more new, but once I get my trees in, I want to get my moonshiners back up in this section again. I'm just taking pieces of scrap that I have and kind of fitting them in. Nothing has to be perfect. Like I said, once you put the sculpt mold over it, it hides everything. This is probably the third or fourth time we've done stuff to this mountain. Like you know, when we pulled this apart, there's actually a tunnel portal back in here from one of the first times we built this mountain. You never know what you're going to have along the route or what changes you'll do through time. And trust me, a layout's never done. It's always subject to change. And if you don't think your layout's subject to change, you're fooling yourself. After 50 years of doing this stuff, I've learned everything changes. It doesn't matter. You get something new or something comes out like these double stackers, which kind of made me have to change things here so guys could run double stacks. When the big boys came out, and a lot of guys were running these engines that were super wide, it made changes. And the layout had to conform more to that kind of stuff. With the Stinner foam, you can kind of flex it a little and move it around, which is nice. Kind of fill in these holes a little here. And like I said, once we get the sculpt the mold up here, some hydrocal, and I'll probably put a cloth wrap over it first, then go with the sculpt the mold. But this will fill this in. This will give me a nice little shelf up in here. That shelf will allow me to, I can put some trees up in this section. Kind of do some little changes here and there. This I can fill in with the hydrocal sheets to fill in the gaps. So that'll work out pretty good. I try to get as much of the foam in as I can so that the trees have something to press into. It don't take much. Fill it in with a few scraps here and there. Hot glue does pretty good. And then once you get the sculpt the mold in, get this filled in little by little. Let's see. Another little cut here and there. Trying not to cut too much of this blue foam on the layout. So it leaves them little blue fuzzy things. Railroads didn't have blue fuzzy things laying around them. They're a pain in the neck to clean up. If I minimize it, it's better off. And this will be a cliff base here. Be able to attach some of the rocks and stuff like that. I think that'll look pretty neat. Let's see. Don't like that. What do we got here? This work. Shelf there. Let's see, where'd my knife go? Good. Throw that up there. Give it a little bit of shelf. Like I said, you don't have to be fancy putting the foam up. You're going to hide it anyway. It's not going to be the actual part of the mountain. All it is a base. Got that up in there. Let's see. That'll fill in that hole. Yeah. Shove that down in there. Don't have to be flat, don't have to be level. I ain't putting a house here. Alright, that looks good. I hate them little stringies. Let's see, feather that in. What do we got here laying around from scrap? Yeah. Piece might work in there. And might work. Cut that down like that. Make a cut there. Make a cut there. And we'll glue that in there, and then we'll come back in a little bit and get our hydrocal roll mats. They're like what they use for casts. That's what they originated from. So when I bring the hydrocal mats out, that'll be the next thing for you to see. So we got this pretty much based where we need it. I'll clean up here, get things set up for the next part of this project, and let you guys keep following along. Alright, now it's time to put the plaster cloth down. Get the plaster cloth, you can buy it from Woodland Scenics or Michaels, but you'll unwrap it and cut it down into sections. And how we do this is get yourself a little bucket of water. I like to have a paintbrush. Dip it down in here, let it soak up. I find putting a bunch of them in, letting them soak for a little bit, usually the best thing to do. And we'll leave them sit and soak for a few seconds. And then we'll pull them out. We'll get one here. And we'll pull it out. Set it in just to fill in where the cracks are. It's nice to just take the paintbrush. You can go along and get it to fill in nice. Just do that along the way. What we want to do is just fill in all these cracked areas. The reason is we're going to go along after this dries. This will make a hard shell like we have with our foam. Then we can go over top of it with our Sculpt-A-Mold and do our detail then. This will allow it, we don't have to fill in these big gaps with Sculpt-A-Mold and stuff like that, so you're not wasting your money filling in ditches. So like I said, this works pretty good. Just stick a bunch of them in at a time, let them soak up. And it's the same as what they used to use for casts for your arm. And leave it sit in for a few seconds. And like I said, we're just using it to fill in these big gaps and voids. I'm not trying to make a mountain out of it. We're just trying to make a hard shell. Like I said, the paintbrush is good because you can use it to fill in all the little cracks. And you don't need much. This will work out great. And this will take about a half hour, maybe 45 minutes to dry. But it'll give us the results we're looking for. Like I said, we're just looking to make a hard shell out of it. Fill in all these big gaps that we got. So we don't have to fill them all in with Sculpt-A-Mold. Some people make whole mountains out of these. But, I don't feel it's necessary to make a whole mountain out of it if you're using foam. This will give us something to work with. As you can see, I'm taking just a couple sheets at a time, setting them in, let them soak. Doesn't take a whole lot to get them to absorb the water. Work our way up around through this terrain up here, fill out the bottom down here. And that'll give us stuff for the Sculpt-A-Mold and our Hydrocal plaster to stick to and not have big voids to fill in. almost done. Get this all done, and I'll get some pictures so that you can see what it looks like, and then we'll come back to this with the Sculpt-A-Mold, and when I come back with the Sculpt-A-Mold, we'll show you what we got. We'll have a hard shell to work with, and it should look pretty good. Got a dancing dog above my head. Oh, I hear the dog barking away. Okay. Set for a few seconds. Get our... All right. Filling in this one section here. We should be good to go. I think we'll have everything filled in that we need filled in here. All right. Brush in a minute. Brush it all down. I think so far we look really good. A couple more sheets left. Kind of use them as extra support in some places. Again, we already got them wet. Brush. Dab these all down good. Make sure they're, helps to make sure they're good and stuck to the other part that you got that you're working with. Fills in those contours. Looking pretty good. I got one more piece left here. We'll put this down on the bottom. That'll help reinforce this one section really good. Alright, what we'll do is we'll leave this all sit and dry, and we'll come back and we'll do our Sculpt-A-Mold. Thank you guys for watching this part of the tunnel rebuild. We appreciate you for following us. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And you can also find us on our Facebook page on O-Gauge Model Railroading's Tips, Tricks, and More, our Facebook group. We also can be found on the Train Shop Weekly. We try to get there at least every other week, if possible. And don't forget to check our shop out at Hennings Trains in Lansdale, PA, where you can buy all your parts, train supplies, your O-Gauge, Lionel parts, American Flyer, HO, and plus many, many more. Thank you for following.